Perfect. Alright, let me intro this shit. Ladies and gentlemen. Oh my god.
Jesus Christ.
Welcome back to the Unmasked Podcast. I'm your host, Ola Ardal, and joining me is my co-host, Jacob Hall.
Again.
Good shit. I don't have another bottle, so this is our intro for now. So we have some improvements since last time. We have video now, and the audio should be more clean. So it should be a lot easier to edit later. We'll find out. So you were talking about music festivals.
Yeah, and music festivals. Whenever you, after several days of drinking, you're starting to have that rumble in your stomach. And the best thing you can do is just wake up, take the first bus up to the to your car to get the drinks for the day, and then pop a snooze. And then you can just feel the rumbling just start to move a little bit down. And then you know, oh, it's time. It's time. And then you get the best shit every day for 7 days straight. This and coffee. That and coffee, I mean.
Yeah. Oh, I was trying keto once, and one thing that people on keto keep talking about is they call it supercharged coffee. And so what that is, it's a cup of black coffee and 1 tablespoon of MCT oil. MCT oil is this synthetic oil you can use for cooking. It's mostly used for people that are on keto because their body is working entirely on fats. And so adding something like a teaspoon of MCT oil is just like an energy boost, like an insane thing. So
goddamn.
I was at work and decided to have a cup. I brought some MCT oil with me, and I made myself a big black cup of coffee and poured in a bunch of MCT oil, mixed it around, and I start drinking it. And I mean, it's just regular coffee until later on, because the MCT oil has kind of a laxative effect, and black coffee does as well.
Oh. Minus and minus equals plus, right?
I had to go home, man. I had to go home in between. Like I've been on, I spent most of that shift not present, and then I just said to a coworker, like, I'm sick, I'm going home, grab my car keys and drive home. And I spent half a day just on the toilet, just a complete like cleaning house. Since that day, I've actually used that as a tool because I know that I can replicate that effect whenever with a cup of black coffee and MCT oil. So if I ever feel sick and I need to like detox or something, pop that in and we're golden.
Well, so far we can confirm you have spent a half a day on the toilet in one end, and last time we talked about how you spend a whole night from the other end.
I think we need to make this a tradition. We cannot start an episode of this podcast without talking about some poop of woman. Anyways, I've been discovering something lately. It's a cheeky little album, music album. It's called Everywhere at the End of Time.
Everywhere at the End of Time.
Already, did you? I've been telling everybody I know about this.
Like my Hollow Knight thing?
Yeah, it's probably gonna become my Hollow Knight. Not. It's a bit different. The thing is, it's 6 albums, actually, but it's a musical project that you're meant to listen to all in its entirety. As a whole, it's 6 hours and 30 minutes long. And it's kind of made to listen to the whole thing in one sitting. It's unique in that it's made to represent the 6 stages of dementia. It's to replicate that. Each album represents each stage, and the first album starts off with recognizable music. And the thing that the caretaker, he's called, who made that, the thing that he does to start off with is sampling a bunch of really old 30s, 40s songs that were popular at the time to kind of replicate this feeling of nostalgia. And even for somebody like me who's born in 99, it still gives me a feeling of old. You know, maybe I'm old, maybe the world's old, but it gives me that kind of a similar feeling to nostalgia in that. And it's a little distorted, and you hear like vinyl crackles and some white noise in the background, but overall it's normal. And then as you move on to the second stage, as you move on to the second album, the music starts to become more distorted, more unrecognizable. And as you move further and further down, the music becomes increasingly distorted and increasingly unharmonious and chaotic. And it's essentially made to kind of replicate that experience of having dementia. I had a really structured way of explaining this, and I've completely forgotten, but we'll get there. Don't worry.
Do you know anybody with dementia?
I knew.
You knew?
My grandmother had Alzheimer's, which, as a quick detour, essentially the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's is, as one doctor explained it, dementia is the team, Alzheimer's is a player. And so dementia is a kind of an umbrella term for various diseases that cause a deterioration of cognitive function and dysfunction of memory. My grandmother had Alzheimer's, and she was diagnosed, I think, around the time when I was born, or a little bit after. So by the time that I start forming my first memories in my life, she's beginning to forget, and her memories are becoming distorted. So the way that I experienced it growing up, she was always kind of a little cold and a little distant to everybody. The way that people described her before was always this super cheerful, very open, kind person, a very bright personality, but I never experienced that. I never knew her as that. And that's because the whole time that I knew her, she was suffering from
the later stages.
Yeah, she was going through these stages, and yeah, shit. The way that Alzheimer's works is there's a chemical in the brain that's meant to be restorative, I'm pretty sure. What happens is that many different little instances of this chemical start to bond together accidentally and form what's called plaques. And these plaques can then attach to other plaques, and as they build up in the brain, they start to cause tissue damage to the brain itself, which means that you start to lose cognitive function and your memory starts to fail you. But we have some goofy stories of my grandmother, I'd say. As she started to forget and lose some of her cognitive abilities and become a little bit more confused to the world, we have a few kind of instances that are a bit, I would call them goofy. To provide a little bit of background to that.
Yes, please.
Back home in Iceland, there's a tradition to every time during New Year's, we go out and we buy fireworks, and it's one of the biggest fundraisers for the Volunteer Search and Rescue Force in Iceland. But yeah, the whole nation goes out and buys a shit ton of fireworks. Like every family has their own pack of fireworks essentially, and everybody's shooting them off and stuff. And there's one particular type, and I'm sure there's some good English word for it, but we call it a cake. It's this big cardboard box, and inside is a bunch of tubes neatly aligned, and inside each tube is a firework. You light one fuse at the end of the cardboard box, and it goes through and lights each and every firework in a specific order, whether it's like a burst fire or or it all goes off at once. And this particular year, my dad had bought this gigantic cake that probably cost about $500 or something. It was very expensive and very big. And each and every one of those fireworks had an explosion that was probably 10 plus meters in diameter, could have broken windows. And they set it off, and the recommended distance is away from that is like 25 meters, right?
Mm.
They set it off, my dad runs off, and it's going off for a while. And everybody's sort of talking and watching the fireworks and stuff. So nobody notices as my grandmother is standing there, and she's holding a sparkler, but it's not lit yet. And she's thinking, all right, I've got this sparkler, and I need some kind of fire to light it. So naturally, there's fire right in front of her, a whole lot of it. And so she starts to walk towards it, and nobody notices 'cause in the darkness and everything, until we all of a sudden see that she's reaching her sparkler right over this cake as it's shooting off. And fortunately, one of the rockets shot up and lightly stroked the edge of the sparkler, setting it off. And she had no idea the danger she was in, and just walked back to us with a little sparkler now on, like all happy and smiling because she's got a sparkler and shit. And while the rest of the family is panicking because we almost had a horrendous accident, but luckily it all ended well.
It just sounds something like out of a sitcom. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, it definitely could have been one. One other story as well. It's also from New Year's. It also concerns my grandmother. It sounds like we're a really irresponsible family, but I promise we were taking proper care of her.
It sounds like it.
But my brother and my dad were playing around with these tiny little fireworks that don't really explode as they go off, but rather they just shoot off and they make a little sound. You might be familiar with those. And the way they were lighting them is they were holding them in their hands. They light the fuse, and then they reach out their hand and just let it go as the firework goes off. It's a tiny little thing, so no danger there. My grandma sees these things happening and thinks, I want in on that action. But she grabs the biggest firework we had. It's one that's called a Tivoli bomb. It is, the end of it is just a huge ball. It's like a tennis ball of explosives. And she stands there, and she has a lighter now, so that's an upgrade. Lights the fuse, holds the firework up, outstretches her hand towards the sky, and my dad and my brother look back to see that she's just engulfed in sparks and flame as the firework goes off, and then she lets it go and it flies towards the sky and explodes somewhere away. And she's all happy, just standing there, like, doesn't even know what the fuck happened.
Like, she was just looking at your fireworks and was like, I don't want that puny shit near me. I just want the biggest, baddest bitch I can find.
Yeah. That was something.
Wow. It's a scary thought that it's not because she didn't really want to think about it. Like, she...
Yeah, she was just confused, and she didn't realize. She didn't put two and two together. She didn't realize, like, fully what's going on. It was just...
You don't get a full grasp of the situation.
No, exactly. There's one of the prominent attributes of dementia is just confusion. And I remember the last time that I saw her was a couple of days before she died. We had moved her into a home where they could take proper care of her because they had professionals that have been working with people with dementia their entire lives. And we came to visit her in the last couple of days, right before she passed away. And she was just the husk of a person, like barely living at that point. And I remember she woke up and looked at us and just looked terrified. And I wondered today if what she saw, if she saw us and didn't recognize us, and that's why she was kind of scared, kind of afraid, or if she just didn't see people at all. Like if she saw something entirely different.
You'll never know.
But, yeah.
Jesus. It's terrifying, especially when you don't really have it near you in family or friends, know somebody who has it. I don't really know anybody that might have it or or has confirmed to having it. So I don't really think I know the full grasp of how terrifying a disease it is.
It is. It's a special kind of fear that I have for it, because it's not the kind of a monster in the closet type fear.
No.
It's the fear that your entire world, your entire reality becomes the monster in the closet, because it's so distant, alien, and unrecognizable. It's the one thing that we have that we realize that we have is our mind. Our entire reality is just the things that we think and the things that we remember. And it's a disease that specifically targets that. Terrifying stuff.
And I can just imagine for the loved ones. Like how do they even tackle that kind of situation?
It's incredibly difficult.
Somebody you have known for 50 plus years, like someday they just don't recognize you.
I remember my mom told me a couple of years ago that when we were younger, me and my brother's 8 years older than me, and we would sometimes, my mom and dad were off to do something, and they needed babysitting, so they would place us with our grandmother and my grandpa. It was rare that this happened though, because at that point, my grandma had kind of started to get was starting to lose her cognitive abilities a little bit. I didn't know. I knew that she had Alzheimer's, but I knew much later. I didn't know how early it was, really. And I remember my mom telling me about how she used to tell my brother that he had to take care of me and he had to watch over me because my grandma was liable to forget that I was there.
But what about your brother?
She recognized him a bit better. But this was like way back when I was a toddler, basically.
Yeah, okay. How old is your brother compared to you?
He's 8 years older.
Holy.
Yeah.
A bastard son.
Yeah, actually, that's true. He is. I'm pretty sure he is. I'm fairly certain he is. I remember I was kind of like I'm a little bit pissed that my mom and dad couldn't get married much later so that I could have properly experienced like a big marriage to somebody that I'm close to.
Oh yeah.
I've been to a couple of weddings and they're always so fun. They're unique kind of fun.
Well, I think when you're in a younger age and you're allowed to drink at these family gatherings in one way or another, it becomes very funny because you don't have the responsibility really, and when the night is over, you probably have a dad or a mom to take you home.
Yeah.
And I haven't really been to a wedding in the last 5, 6, 7 years, so it's I need to refresh it, but I don't know anybody who has to get married soon.
Yeah. Damn. Dude, I had a thought the other day, and I think it was probably mostly because of I just miss having big gatherings because of COVID. I just miss having a huge gathering of people. But I just had this thought that I was listening to some song, and I had this thought that it would be such a wonderful thing to get all my best friends together. Excuse me. Get all my best friends together and everybody is just drinking, having a good time, and like push a bunch of table off to the side and everybody's out there dancing to this like song that I was listening to at the time. And man, do I miss that. Even if it doesn't happen very regularly, but I miss getting a bunch of people together.
Yeah, and now that we're talking about the whole COVID situation, until 3 days ago, I didn't know anybody in my friends or family who had corona. But my granddad has been confirmed positive with it. And he is fresh like a seagull. Like, I am pretty sure that he could climb Mount Everest tomorrow if that was he's supposed to. My grandmother, who's negative, lies in bed sick right now.
Yeah.
The fuck?
This is the well, yeah, fuck. This disease is such a gamble. It is. Like, I know a guy back home who's about the same age as me, an athlete, never smoked, never drank, got COVID. He was in ICU for a week. He it took him I think like 6 or 8 weeks to recover and get out of hospital. And right now he's in therapy because of all the nightmares that he had during the time that he was in ICU. Because he was blacked out most of the time, and during that time he had such horrible nightmares that he's still dealing with it.
Yeah, like when we play Bloodborne, it's for fun, but when your mind starts to play Bloodborne for
Yeah,
you and you can't really say stop, then it becomes a problem.
yeah, something like that.
Wow.
And he hasn't regained physically, hasn't recovered fully. I mean, he still has,
Of course not.
like, his endurance is all gone, and he just has a hard time walking upstairs now and stuff.
Yeah, and that's why we have to be careful with it. You never know. Like when they say elders are the most, is the biggest threat.
Hmm.
I think is that the word?
Yeah.
Like
The-
they're in the
They're
zone
the
of
most vulnerable.
yeah. Thank you, most vulnerable.
Yeah.
And my granddad, I don't know if he's just like tough as a nail, but he doesn't like he wants to go out and walk, but they're in isolation right now, of course.
Mhm.
And now you're telling me one of your friends, same age as you?
Yeah, similar. I'm pretty sure. I've just read this in a Facebook post. I don't know him personally, but I read his own accounts of what happened, and it was terrifying.
So you never know who's like resistant to it and who's not.
Yeah, exactly. Not until you get it.
But I look forward to when we can have gatherings again, but I don't want to force it out
Mm.
and then just make a new boom, upsurge. Now we're all caught again.
That's the thing about that, though. Vaccine. We're so close. I don't know how to pronounce the name of that company. Pfizer? I think it's Pfizer. It's PZIF something. It's it's
Okay.
ridiculous.
The
but-
F was too popular. We want something new. Let's put a
Yeah.
P set in now.
Yeah, it sounds like something like the name of the company sounds like something a German would say when he stubs his toe.
Pfeife!
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Ah!
But yeah, they have a vaccine now that's 90% effective. It's passed all the human trials. It's about a week or two away from getting approval by the FDA and the WHO. And they're planning that by Christmas, they should have most medical personnel vaccinated. And by next spring, there will be more than 1.3 billion people vaccinated.
Okay, I'm crossing my fingers. It will be
Yeah.
pretty great.
It would be fucking amazing to finally put an end to this. There are a lot of challenges before that, but I feel like as soon as we have a vaccine, one that functions and that everybody trusts that works, governments are gonna find a way to get their people vaccinated. Like there are a lot of logistical problems about it because it's a vaccine that needs to be kept at minus 80 degrees Celsius to store it. So it needs to be transported between countries in very specific freezers and containers. But it's been done before. Like virus and vaccines and all sorts of shit has been transported at that temperature before. Never in this quantity, but I'm sure we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I
We
think
are
all
close.
governments right now just want to get the everyday going again, with all
Mm.
people could be like working and get all the employers, companies, and everything in between to like
Yeah.
have people come back, start working again, get the whole windmill going.
Yeah, the first people to get vaccinated will be the medical personnel that are working on the front
Of course,
lines
of
that are
course,
dealing with
highest
the disease
priority.
itself. And I remember the WHO released numerous guidelines on how they suggested that government should vaccinate their people in what order. And it starts with the medical personnel, and it goes down to care home workers that are working with the elderly, and then the elderly themselves, and
And then the last group is the introverts because they're already inside and don't come out.
Gamers, that's at the bottom. It's just gamers.
Yeah, gamers.
But yeah, we're close. We're close to.
Yeah, and then it's just the wait until the next big thing comes out, you know. Well, right now I don't really want to be the new kind of rat from the Black Plague, so I don't want to be like the one walking around, even if I'm resistant to it, and walk around and be one big pile of contamination for everybody else.
Yeah, but soon enough. At least there was one guy back home in Iceland who's kind of famous for being. He's in charge of a private company that deals with genetic material and genetic research, and they've been a huge part in dealing with this virus back home, in helping out with testing and doing research on the virus itself and a bunch of stuff. And the head of that program, the head of that whole company, has been very famous, at least, because he's appeared in a lot of interviews, and he's a very vocal dude. He's a very colorful personality, I'll say.
One of those eccentric types.
He's very fucking eccentric. I remember there was a bunch of memes comparing him to Rick from Rick and Morty.
Oh, okay.
He's very eccentric.
Okay.
But yeah, he was talking about in an interview recently that, but in all likelihood, by next spring, life will become normal again, and restrictions will be lifted. So this next summer is gonna be so lit. I'm gonna party so damn hard. It's gonna be a year's worth of partying just pent up that I'm gonna have to get out.
Well, I just hope that the first time that the first wave of COVID that hit America, where people had to be locked down and don't come out, and you couldn't go to bars and stuff like that. And then they opened for that, and the first picture I saw from America was this dude who was knocked out cold behind a car, and there was vomit everywhere on his body. And it's like, is this really what you waited for? Yeah. It is probably.
Oh yeah.
Like, I feel like a perfect, maybe not a perfect human being, but I'm not out doing mistakes right now. I'm just sitting home patiently.
Yeah.
Just waiting for something to happen. The only thing I can be happy about is I'm not a mink.
I wouldn't want to be a Danish mink right now. Yeah. I heard that they were about to gas all the minks. And I was like, yeah. Learn from the experienced, I guess.
I'm just more concerned about all of northern Jutland, what they're gonna do. It's a big part of the economics up there, and there is actually many farms who.
Yeah, there was something about that. They discovered that that particular strain of COVID that they were so afraid of, and they were killing the minks to get rid of that. It disappeared or something, that they weren't finding instances of it anymore.
Okay.
Or something like that. I'm pretty sure the situation has been mostly resolved around that. But I'm not confident because I don't speak Danish and I don't follow Danish news. But
I don't really either. A horrible language.
An awful language. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a really funny meme about that I'm gonna send you later. But anyways, you wanted to talk about instruments.
Yeah, I want to talk about instruments because I was having a thought yesterday at 3 in the night.
Yeah,
I was having a thought about if I had to choose an instrument to like be really good at and pick out. I have 3 in mind, but I would choose the specific one depending on which lifestyle I would have. So like, let me just give them, and you can see where I'm going with it. It was violin, it was saxophone, and it was bass. And in my mind, it's completely different lifestyles you get if you're good in each and every one of them. Whereas the violin is more classical. You can of course go so many ways with violins. It's become a very popular instrument, even in the pop genres and In the radios, you hear it way more often. And I think that Lindsey Sterling did help the violin become popular really fast in the public eye.
Yeah.
Whereas a saxophone, you get that feeling of more of a jazz thing going on, and maybe more of a, I'm going from nightclub to nightclub and lounges to play. And then, bass, a versatile instrument, also very essential in almost everything. But with that bass in mind, I was thinking more of a stadium going around in a band, rock band, for example, because like we were talking about with Muse, Hysteria, that bass riff just get me throbbing every fucking time. And people are always like, I want to play the electrical guitar and I want to play the drums. Yeah, but what about the bass?
Dude, there was a time after their album. Their studio album that I can't remember right now, but I do remember. You remember the single Madness, right? You remember the start of that, the electric bass, the sound.
It rings a bell, but
when
it's
they're playing
a little dusty.
live, the bass guitarist in Muse, he has this unique instrument. I don't think anybody else on the planet has that. It's a combination of an electric kind of thing. It's an interface, I'm gonna call it. It's a MIDI interface. It has buttons on the neck of it, and down below is a huge touch screen, and touching it in different places produces a different kind of electric sound. The other neck that's attached to the same device is a normal traditional bass, and it allows him to effortlessly switch between this electric bassy sound that he can manipulate in all sorts of ways, and then over to a traditional bass sound with a normal bass guitar that's attached to the same thing. And seeing him play it is so beautiful. I've never wanted to play bass as bad as when I saw that guy playing around with that instrument, and I was like, fuck, I need that stuff. And then I started looking up at the price of it. And just the interface that he was using to produce the electric sounds, it was like $5,000 US or something. It was some incredibly expensive instrument that I don't think they produce that anymore, anyways. And he had that custom fitted to blend together with a normal bass guitar in this.
I need to see a picture of that. I need to see it.
It is quite something. That instrument. I remember also another. If you know that band Pendulum, they made like drum and bass.
Yeah, I know two of their songs. I think.
Yeah, you've definitely heard like at least one or two songs from them. When they were playing live, the lead singer, instead of having like any kind of a normal instrument, he would have an instrument called the sitar. And it's from this particular company called Sitar that produces it. It's a huge MIDI. It's basically looks exactly like a guitar, but instead of strings on the neck, it has like 100, 200 something buttons. Each like a small button that produces a specific note, and you can configure it to work in such a way that you have like different styles of instrument on different parts of the neck, and then at the end you've got strings. And then you press the button and you pluck the string to produce a sound, or you can configure it out to work essentially like a MIDI control, just a traditional one, like a keyboard. But you can produce some very unique sounds with a combination of essentially a MIDI, like a traditional MIDI controller, and the strings. You can manipulate the sounds in all sorts of different ways with that. It's a very futuristic looking instrument. It looks like a guitar from Cyberpunk 2077. It's very unique looking.
Well, back in my days, basses had 4 strings, and not all these joystick game controller buttons everywhere.
Yeah, it's like an Xbox controller married a guitar. And, produced some horrendous mutation, some freak Fallout enemy.
Well, I always believe that there's not a bad instrument, there's just like bad ways of using it.
Yeah, definitely.
And I never asked you about the instruments you were considering. I know my instruments were a little bit mainstream.
Yeah, my ones are even more boring. I would say guitar traditionally, because it's so, like, it's such a communal music instrument. Like, you can bring it to any party and always bring up like some sort of a vibe, especially if you're pretty decent at singing and you can play guitar and sing as well. Then that's
Indeed.
like an instant. That's a really good party trick anywhere you go. And I mean, it's incredibly cliche, but always having somebody at a party, and especially during like a camping trip or something.
Oh yeah, camping trips, bonfire, something like that.
Yeah. Then it's like, it's such a instant mood setter, and it just works. Like, it's a reason why it's such a cliche to like be the guy that brings a guitar and is like playing guitar and singing along. But it's because it's really it's nice to have somebody that can play guitar and sing along. That violin as well, because holy fuck, that is such a beautiful instrument, such a
It is.
complicated instrument as well. And probably piano, because that's also extremely versatile.
Yeah, it actually is. I forgot all about how diverse the piano is compared to some of the other things. I know when I say that bass is essential for most music, you can kind of create bass sounds with a piano. So
Yeah.
like you can,
Like, that's the thing, if you know how to play piano, you can get yourself a MIDI controller. You have access to all the instruments in the world.
yeah,
Like, I have one MIDI controller back home. It's like a small keyboard with some controls on it and stuff like that. You plug it into USB, you plug it into your computer, and you open up like a music production software, and you can make anything happen at that point. And yeah, if I knew how to play piano properly, then I'd probably be, I could actually make something out of it. But I use it to fuck around sometimes, with, just having some fun with some sounds and stuff. But
well, sit me in front of a piano and you'll just see my double finger technique here.
like, you're an old person trying to type something on a computer.
Completely. Like, the worst part is, the other day I had my dad come home and visiting me. I was in one night I fucked up 3 fuses.
Oh boy.
Yeah, apparently because I had a kettle going on and I was about to use my stove and we had 2 computers plugged in and the television was going and all the lights, and it was just,
Whoops.
yeah, that was not good. But he came through and he was like, his jaw almost dropped directly down to earth itself and made a crack in my floor just because he saw my girlfriend like tapping with all 10 fingers, and he was like saying to my sister, "Look, she's using the 10-finger method." And I was just thinking, wait till you see my 10-finger method. Nah, just kidding.
Yeah. I remember seeing my aunt at one point. She was working on her, I think it was probably her master thesis or something, and she was staying in town and she was staying over at our house. And I remember seeing her type at one point, and I was just fucking dumbfounded by how anybody could type this fast on a laptop.
I was embracing. You were saying like it was going slow with the whole. She had to have a map out to find the correct keys.
That would be my mom, dude. Every time she's typing, especially if she's typing on on her phone, every time she sees me typing something on her phone, she's like, "How can you do that?" And then you see her typing, and she's holding the phone with one hand, and she's using the other to type, one finger at a time. Always has to like adjust the positioning of the phone, like closer to the face, further away from the face, trying to look for the correct letter, and it takes ages.
But your aunt, she's just.
Yeah. She well, aunt, cousin. I guess cousin's kind of closer. I don't know the English language. What the fuck? But yeah. When she was working on her master thesis, she was at that point she had written like 1,005 essays. So this is not something new. And she seeing her type was like, "Fuck, you're gonna burn that keyboard up." Something.
Well, there are some of these. I saw a job application, not. What do you call it? A job offer? The fuck? When you like search
Yeah.
for a job
Yeah, like,
and there's like
yeah, Yeah.
I post about it. Is that just?
A job offer, I'm pretty
I'm
sure.
I'm so good with the English language
Yeah,
today. I don't know what the fuck is happening.
I know there's a word that you're trying to tell me, and I
Yeah.
feel like it's on the tip of my tongue as well, but I...
Yeah, but as long as you get what I'm trying to say.
Posting, maybe?
And it was telling before you apply, you must at least have our thinking two. I just throw out a number. I can't remember exact, but like 230 words per minute.
Mm.
Like, so that got me thinking. Am I too slow to type? Am I even qualified for some of the jobs I'm actually looking for right now? Should I like? And now I'm curious about your aunt. How many words per minute can she type? You can take all these kind of tests.
Yeah. That's a very interesting thing to check out. I remember way back in the day, if you know what YouTuber Freddie Wong is. You know
Of
him?
course.
Yeah. It was like way back then. He issued like a little challenge. There was like a massive text, and he was typing, and you were supposed to like race against him and try and type as fast as he could. Here's a video that he posted many years ago. I remember that he was typing it on a Razer mechanical keyboard, and it just sounded loud as fuck.
Yeah, the early days of mechanical keyboards were loud days.
Very fucking loud, like typewriters. I had one friend that we used to play Counter-Strike with, and he had an interesting setup, to say the least. His microphone was an old SingStar microphone that he had propped up on top of a speaker. And then he was using the first generation of the Razer Black Widow, which, if you remember, it sounds like some guy... Fuck, I can't describe it. It's like a fucking machine. It's so loud.
Yeah, I was trying to see if I could make a sound that was like a little bit reminiscent of the early days of the mechanicals, but I don't have a loud enough. Like I could snap, but it wouldn't replicate it good enough.
It's just clack, clack, clack.
Yeah, clack, 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 like two what do you call them? Clocks.
Yeah. It's like tap dancing.
Yeah, completely.
And hearing that all the time through a
Ventrilo
SingStar microphone.
What kind of service did you use for communication in the early days? You didn't use Skype, right?
No, that was probably TeamSpeak.
TeamSpeak. Oh yeah, I actually never got to use TeamSpeak.
Yeah, I just went straight to Discord, right?
No. I was using Skype as the fucking fabber I was.
Oh really?
Yeah, but I didn't really play that many games with friends online.
Yeah.
It was more of a new thing for me. As I got older, I started playing Counter-Strike and League of Legends with people online.
Yeah.
But I was mostly single-player games. Pokemon was my life as a kid because I had the Game Boy. I think to most people, the games that really represent your childhood depended on which console your parents could afford you.
Just keep talking.
And for me, it was the Game Boy. We had also the PlayStation 1, and I'm sorry, Dad, if you get in trouble for this, but he had like a big suitcase of different PS1 games. I probably had 350 plus titles just in that one suitcase, and he had another one on the roof. So we had to like switch between what we actually were playing and what we might play sometime.
Yeah,
And
shit.
It wasn't legal. They weren't the original. He just had his friends from work who would be like, hey, I have all this. So the PlayStation and the Game Boy were my childhood.
Nice. Yeah, I used to play... My first console was a PlayStation 2, and that used to be my thing all the time. It was PlayStation 2 games, especially platformers and stuff. But yeah, when we started playing... at some point, I remember my first PC game was Half-Life, the first one, from 98.
That's so good. Really good game.
And yeah, I remember I got it for Christmas from my brother. That was my intro into PC gaming. And from there it was Counter-Strike Source and a lot of bunny hopping, and then CS:GO and a lot of shouting and getting mad at people for getting you stuck in doorways and shit like that. But yeah, and I'm getting mad at that one guy who had his SingStar microphone and a fucking mechanical keyboard like an idiot. That was also just a really toxic dude.
One thing found out about toxicity, that some people are naturally toxic when it comes to gaming, But the greater you are at a game and the more you care about it, sometimes people forget that it's a game. You're supposed to have fun with it. They see it as something competitive. And when you
Yeah.
really see it competitively and see that other people don't take it serious, then you start becoming a little more toxic. I personally experienced that with League of Legends. At the beginning, I knew I was bad. Like, I just did the best I could, jump on the support role because I'd rather help others play well than play well myself.
Yeah.
And at one point, I got really good at supporting. I had like great vision scores and all of that thing. And every time I played with my friends, who I knew I was better than, I started become like throw out these aggressive comments and just why couldn't you see that? And your lane is pushed and blah blah blah. And nah. I don't really like destroying my headphones by throwing them across the room and like pulling them in again.
Yeah. We have there's one friend that I play Call of Duty with regularly, and me and another friend of mine, who's his uncle, we make fun of him all the time because every time we play with him, give him about 2 minutes and then he's shouting at the top of his lungs and banging something and making noises all. It's awful, but he takes the game very seriously.
Call of Duty is one of them games. Yeah, I've seen highlights of people at tournaments who are just shut the fuck down, sit down, you fucking bitch.
But I do have to concede that there's something about that game that just God, it brings something out of you. There's some like I can't describe it. There's sometimes there's just when you're playing it, like certain things just go wrong sometimes, especially Warzone, because then the mistakes are so much more permanent.
I really enjoy Warzone, but I have woken up my brother's girlfriend so many times because of that shitty game. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, if I'm very good at being self-composed and calm, especially when I'm playing video games. But if one night I would just decide, all right, fuck it, I'm home alone and my neighbor is far enough that I'm just gonna allow myself to scream and shout, I would break so many things. Because it's like when you're playing that game, you can be working towards becoming like an absolute superpower. You've filled up all your armor slots, you've got the best weapons possible, you've got the perks from the lore outdrop, and you got everything. And you might have been running around for 10 minutes just gathering shit and doing some recon mission or whatever. And then some guy who's sitting in a bush like 50 meters away just lasers you with whatever gun. And you're dead instantly, and all this effort and all this time is just gone.
Yeah.
So fucking annoying.
Yeah, I stopped playing it not because I didn't think it was funny, but my old PC wasn't really good at handling it. It's a pretty big game. Let's
Yeah.
be honest. It's beautiful when you have the computer to like pull it off. Even though it was at the low settings, my PC struggled with it. So sometimes when we were like in the later stages, like say there's 5 squads left, and then freeze out of here, and then there were just my brother and his friend playing, and I would just be like, fuck this shit, because like you're saying, you have just spent like 12 minutes just doing missions and communicating, and like you have beaten 2 other squads maybe, and then
you're just
out of there,
lasered by some guy from.
Yeah, but I got lasered by my own PC.
Okay, yeah, that would hurt even more.
Yeah, like I didn't even get killed by a dude. It was just my PC that killed me.
Yeah, fuck. That the only time I can get into battle royale games is if I'm with friends, because that means if I die, if something goes wrong, then I can still talk to them, and I can still I'm like on just on Instagram or something if they're focusing, and they can bring you back and stuff like that. But I can't get into battle royale games alone.
I will say, compared to like Fortnite, where when you're gone, and then you just have to spectate the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Whereas in Warzone, you get the gulag.
Yeah.
And even though you fail the gulag, your friends can still collect money enough to buy you back. Which I think is so crucial, because then you're never really out.
Yeah, you're just in a timeout, basically.
Yeah, you just got like 2 minutes in handball, out sitting a bit, and then you just hope that your teammates aren't fucking up in the meantime.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you always have a chance to get back to it. That's nice. I tried Battlegrounds the other day, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds.
Yeah.
Which that game, the guy that made it, PlayerUnknown, I don't know what his name is. I think that's kind of the point of his alias. But I was watching a video that was tracing kind of back the history of it a little bit. Because did you know the Battlegrounds started off as basically kind of an addition to the DayZ mod for Arma 2?
Yeah, I actually knew.
You actually knew that? That's insane. It explains why it's so fucking terrible on consoles. Jesus Christ. It's like you're controlling a hippo with a refrigerator attached to its back. It's impossible to control that game on a controller.
It had that, I don't want to say clunky, but it had not a refined feeling to it, even on PC.
Now that's because its foundations is Arma 2, which already is... I used to play Arma 2 a lot, and Arma 2, and especially the DayZ mod, the original mod, a lot. And it's filled with jank, and controlling your character is like controlling a guy that's made out of 5 big bricks. Because it was made back in 2004, 2006, and it's a military simulator made by this small team of developers that just wanted to make a military sim, essentially. And it's been modified to hell, made into a standalone game, and it didn't really I don't think they used a new engine for it at all, and so it retains a lot of those characteristics of Arma in it, in that you're constantly running into all sorts of different glitches and things, and the controls are super janky and fucked up, but Battlegrounds really, and especially PlayerUnknown, this one guy who basically birthed the Battle Royale genre that's become probably the biggest genre of gaming right now.
Yeah, I remember when the wave started.
Yeah.
Everybody was coming out with a Battle Royale, and all the memes about Mario Kart Royale, Bloodborne Royale, Mario Tennis Royale.
I would actually really fucking like to play a Mario Kart Battle Royale mode. It would be fucking...
You actually have a little not like 100-player mode, but you have a little battle mode where you have to pop each other's balloons.
Yeah.
It's not really a Battle Royale, but I think that's the closest you'll get to it.
Yeah, basically. Bring that to a massive map with like a bunch of different pickups and stuff. Like you can pick up like battle carts and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I'm gonna upgrade it then, and instead of using Mario Kart, use Twisted Metal.
Okay.
If you remember that.
Yeah, that.
Old car game where you just have rockets and...
I never played that, but I can definitely get... Did you play the Jack games at all on PlayStation 2?
The Jack game?
Yeah.
That's Jack and Daxter?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I was actually in possession of Ratchet and Clank, not Jack and Daxter.
Okay, I do appreciate that, because Ratchet and Clank are my favorite games of all time, basically. But... next to... Okay, whatever. But the Jack games, they released a 4th edition that was called Jack X, and it's a car game. And
I actually remember that, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a combat racing game. And in my opinion, it's probably one of the most underestimated racing games of all time. It was so fun. It was so... just the controls were so refined, and the whole atmosphere of racing these like Mad Max style cars, picking up missiles and shooting them at each other and stuff like that. It was so much fun.
I love me a good racer game. I would say the racing game I've played the most is the Need for Speed series, the early ones.
Yeah.
Like I really played Most Wanted a lot. I really like the concept of that.
Dude, I missed out on Most Wanted, but I played Carbon and Underground 2 like crazy.
Underground 2, I didn't pick up Underground 2. I was starting with the Most Wanted. And I did also play Carbon, but not as much as Most Wanted.
Yeah, I get that from anybody who's played the Need for Speed series will always say like, oh, Most Wanted was probably the best one. It's the one that people played the most, at least, out of all the Need for Speed games. I played Hot Pursuit a lot. But the way that I played Hot Pursuit, if you remember that game, well, it was this. It was a Need for Speed game, came out for the PS3, and it was all about this dynamic between the police and racers, and you could play as the police or racers as well. The online was really fun because it was pitting you against like a team of others. So it would be you as the police, kind of playing as a team versus the racers who were all racing against each other. And as the police, you had certain tools like EMPs, and you could drop the spikes on the road that would pop the tires.
Yeah.
And the whole intention was to try and use that whenever they were in corners to force them to crash into either oncoming traffic or just drive off the road. It was a lot of fun, but the way that I used to play it the most was going to the free ride mode, because the map was pretty big and pretty intricate, and I had a lot of great corners and great roads to drive around in. The soundtrack was so good as well, and it was such a fun game to just sit around, relax, and enjoy your time driving around and just having fun and listening to the music.
I think it all depends on what you really want from a racing game, because there is the series like Burnout, where it was more like doing these small things. You had races, but you also had these tasks of how much damage can you do with a single jump
yeah.
to traffic and buses. And
That was my first platinum trophy, was Burnout Paradise.
really
That was my first ever platinum trophy that I got.
nice.
I played that a lot. That was back when Sony had the big debacle, and they got, I can't remember what the team was, but when the whole PlayStation Network got hacked, it was down for weeks, and at the end of it, they gave everybody a choice between a couple of games, so you could pick two and get them for free, and one of those was Burnout Paradise, and I picked that. And in the end, it ended up definitely being worth it because I played that a lot.
I think I was just having another. Yeah. A good racing game where I really enjoyed it was MotorStorm on PS3.
Didn't play that.
That's the soundtrack is amazing, and you drive around these big wild stages. And if I remember correctly, you can choose between driving, for example, a motorcycle and a quad and a buggy, and like go up to these van truck kind of things. And they all had like different pluses and minuses. And like the motorcycle is a little bit faster, more agile. But as soon as a buggy or something bigger than you just came towards you and trashed you, you would be like, ugh, and then had to be summoned in on the stage again, like in Mario, and then just again. Well, the truck is a little bit more slow. You couldn't knock that fucker out of the stage. You couldn't, like, you could bang your head against the wall, but the wall was like from a bunker from Second World War. Like, just give up.
Yeah.
Don't even. And I really like that aspect of it. I really dig that, because then you could be really good at motorcycles and buggies and don't really use the trucks, and you had these different kind of path you could take with those compared to taking some of the other cars. So there was so much to it.
Should we take a quick break?
We can.
Don't press pause on the recording, just leave it. That makes it easier to sync up later. I also have a feeling that the video, next time I'm doing video with this, I'm gonna get a proper video camera from Kim, because this one only records 12 minutes at a time, so we probably have very little footage from that. That one has something similar going on, so we're gonna have to cut to the illustration that my friend's making probably. Yes. was setting this up at first. when I was setting up the baking sheet and stuff, didn't really know how to set it up. So I was trying to string it from here so that it would hang down. And I was so proud of myself. I hung it up the sheet on 2 strings, then I had these 2 at the bottom to act as weight to flatten it out. It looked so good. And as soon as I finished it, I looked at it and I was like, fuck, you guerrilla filmmaking bastard, you're so good at this. And then
it would be the same as if I cooked like, oh, just wait till this souffle. And then when it gets out, well, goddamn.
Yeah. Because I used to do a lot of home movies and shit with my friends.
So you know a little bit about the cheesy setups.
Yes, I'm very good at using whatever I can find as light diffusers with table lamps and shit. But did you see behind you if you look over the little thing? I have a picture of you on my
Yeah,
wall.
I know. I was actually telling that to Benjamin.
Yeah.
When before I got over here, I just swing by Carolina, and I was telling Carolina and Benjamin that you had a picture of me on your wall.
Yeah.
I take that as a compliment.
It's a really good.
I don't know where it started from me being the poster child, but you know I'm kind of digging it.
Dude,
it's
it's
better than
such
being like Camille, I think.
Yeah, he's a poster child for how to not communicate with people, I think.
He's the imposter child.
Yes.
He get voted out of the igloo. Hand over your fish.
Oh yeah.
Did we need to do the synergy thing again?
No, because we're both recording still, so I just need to sync it up at the beginning, and then I have the whole audio. I just need to sync up like the videos and shit, but that's. I think there's some tool in Premiere that's supposed to sync up video to different audio automatically. I need to learn about that a little bit.
I only tried using the Premiere Rush. Is it that one? That is the Premiere Pro, which is the heavy one, and the Premiere Rush. And I kind of hope that we will have to see each other's videos at one point in UX, because you will see the most horrendous shit from our group.
I had a really funny moment with that when we were recording, when we were supposed to record the UX assignment, and it was me and Renata were in our classroom, and nothing was really happening, and I was looking for some chalk, because I wanted to draw up some bullshit on the blackboard, and we didn't have any chalk, and so I pass over the corridor, and I open up the door to the next classroom, and as soon as I open it up, I can see Hussein sitting in the middle, and he's flanked on either side by Hannah and Vulcan. And Hussein's looking at his computer and he's talking. And he looks at me and he looks right into my eyes and he just says, "No," and shakes his head. And as soon as I open the door, and I just and close the door slowly again, because they were mid-recording when I walked in. I was so afraid. I was like, Hussein's so fucking mad at me now. Oh God, oh no.
Well, we were stealing a classroom of, I think it was for people coming in and having different courses, because they had like a coffee machine in the back.
Yeah,
so
cozy shit like that.
And we, me and Evina did our recording, and Josie did his recording, and we were doing the editing while Matthew was still doing his. And just out of nowhere, when I was doing the editing, you can just hear him trying to talk, and you can hear us. There was a little buzz in the background as us talking, and then it's just shut the fuck up. Oh shit! Sorry, dude. Sorry.
Yeah, they were telling when she was telling us to record through Zoom. I was really skeptical at first, because I was like, "What's the recording power of Zoom?" It's fucking Zoom. I wouldn't record that even if I wouldn't use that to record anything even if I was getting paid to use it. Like, sounded like a horrible idea. And then she started to explain, oh yeah, you can record your own screen, and you can record the audio at the same time, and all that. And then I thought, okay, maybe it's not such a bad idea at all. I'm not gonna use it, because video is my passion, so I'm gonna do something proper when it comes to the video. But I can understand why some people want to use it. And then Hussein came back after his recording session and spent probably the next 2 hours cussing the fucking program out. Because everything was failing. Like, every problem that he could possibly encounter, he was encountering. And he was talking the whole time about how miserable this program was making him, how awful it was to use to record. And after that, yeah, I was right in my assumptions. It's a terrible idea to try and record anything with that.
The funny thing about Zoom is that if I just say the word Zoom, I could be doing a project and be like, hey, what's the shortcut for zooming in Illustrator? And I could just see Joe in the background like, oh, he fucking disgusted by the word Zoom. And I think it's everybody who cares a little bit about editing would never use Zoom as a default.
Oh yeah,
it wouldn't even be in the top 3 programs.
I would rather go back to Sony Vegas. Do you know that program?
Yeah, I never used it, but I know it exists.
Yeah, I never want to go to the city of Vegas because the word just makes me want to stab myself. I used that program a little bit, and it is I have strong words about that. It is a horrible, horrible editing program that crashes on you all the time. None of the controls make sense. It looks ugly as anything that's very ugly. Insert your own template for ugliness there, but it is a horrible, horrible program, and I hate it. I hate it so bad. I think it got acquired by Avid, which is a media company that's very famous for acquiring software and then ruining it. But I don't know how you could make Vegas any worse, so they probably just made it turn into a program that when you install it, it just lights your PC on fire. They did that with, what was it called? Sibelius, I think. Which is a music notation software. And I would never use that because I don't write classical music. But apparently they turned it into an absolute shit show. As they have done with a couple of more programs. There's one that they have that's good. It's called Pro Tools. It's an audio engineering software. And apparently that's supposed to be pretty good. I would just stay away from anything Avid in general. Anything Avid makes, Adobe makes better. So just stick with that.
Yeah, but Adobe is also a little bit pricey.
Very pricey. That's why you find yourself media education that doesn't charge you any education fees. And then you can get the student discount.
But, oh gee, Ollie, where can I find such an education?
I can tell you. This episode is sponsored by the Business Academy Southwest.
By the way, where did you get the microphones from?
Oh, I can tell you about that as well. That would be from our beautiful teacher Kim at the Business Academy Southwest in Esbjerg.
Like, I'm just imagining the car salesman meme right now, and it's just, this education holds so many students, can give you so many Adobe programs.
This education can hold so many opportunities for you.
Well, one thing that has become very clear to me,
and
while taking this education, what is it now? 3 months? We have been at it?
Yeah, since the beginning of September, basically, because the first August was basically just the introductory shit. But
yeah.
September, October, November.
2.5, really?
Yeah.
Only?
Yeah, it feels like a lifetime.
And well, I can see already now who got a knack for the design things. But it doesn't necessarily mean that people can't design, because at the end of the day, for most part, design is just a matter of opinion, like what looks good to you. And but there are really some in our class who has a really good eye for it, and I don't think I have an eye for it, but I still do think that because I create things with my preference in mind, and I don't think I don't have bad taste, it automatically becomes like good enough for me.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to start on coding. Oh my god. Ugh.
Coding can go fuck itself
Like,
entirely.
the thing about coding is, usually when you have a project of some sort, it's like creating this puzzle. Like, and you have all the what do you call them, bricks? Puzzle pieces, yeah. Puzzle pieces, and you're just gonna put them together until you have a frame and a picture where you're like satisfied. Coding is you are creating the bricks by yourself.
Yeah.
You're creating them, and then you have to like stick it together afterwards.
There's my first ever experience with coding was now when we started the very first thing when Thomas first started teaching us, and our first assignment was to create a business card in Visual Studio Code, and that was before we knew anything about CSS or anything. It was just using HTML code basically. And I just barely managed to get something out that kind of resembled the business card, right? And I show up in class, and Renata is there, and she hasn't started on hers yet. And I was sitting next to her, and I was trying to help her out. And she imports an image into it, and the image is rotated sideways. And we don't know why.
Oh yeah, I actually remember that.
And on my screen, I have the exact same code. Character for character, exact same code. And my image just doesn't work. It just doesn't appear at all. And we call Thomas over to try and help us, and Renata tries to refresh the thing, and then all of a sudden her image is rotating the right way. Mine isn't working still the exact same code. And then we look into the code a bit further, and we're trying to make some adjustments, and now the image all of a sudden rotates the other way. And mine still doesn't work. And Thomas is standing there looking at it, and he's been working with HTML and CSS for years, right? And he just says, I don't know what's happening. And that's been my experience with coding since then. That is such a good analogy for the rest of anything that has to do with web page design and coding for me, because god damn, I have such a special hatred for it. I can be looking at, I can know exactly what a certain tech does and implement it into my code, and nothing works. And I don't know if it's because of a typo I made 300 lines above, or because I'm not implementing that particular tech correctly, or because the program hates me. It could be any one of these three things, and there's no way of knowing it. It just doesn't work. And then you just keep on trying, and you keep on typing shit, and then all of a sudden it works for a second, and then it doesn't. And I just don't understand it. It's like trying to do math, but it's math that hates you.
Like math without any numbers. It's just letters.
Mm-hmm.
That was the biggest culture shock for me from going from elementary school to high school.
Yeah.
You just started like A, B, and C, and you're, oh, okay, I kind of see the point of this, and then all the letters are just there when you get to high school.
Yeah.
Like Pythagoras, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
That thing where you have to calculate from
With
the other
triangles
things.
and stuff, yeah.
Was the start of my hatred to the whole math like thing. I can tell you with a straight face, I went 4 years in high school, and on my second year we were lucky enough to get math as the exam thing, and I was so terrified of the exam that I'd rather just try another year. So I did. And in the meantime, I had to like decide again what kind of subjects I wanted. If I wanted the same, like go from math B to math A. If I wanted to go physics. If I wanted to, like, I had to think about that whole spiel again. And my dad was like, "You need math. You're gonna need math. So take math for your own good." And I could show you the papers today, and it says from my oral exam and my written exams, it's -300.
What?
Because the Danish grading system is based. It's a little weird. We had another grading system while I was starting in elementary school, and then it changed to complement the English one with A, B, C, D. So we have the numbers corresponding to the letters in the international one. And the -3 is an F, but the problem is, if you just had the letters, it wouldn't be a problem. But when you have to calculate in the Danish grading system, a -3 does so much to your average. Like you don't even realize how horrendous it is for your opportunities afterwards if you just get one of these compared to if you get a 0-0, which is still failed. But a -3, I even remember the exam, the written exam. I just looked at the paper, scrolled through a couple of the pages, and I was like, "Oh Jesus Christ! Okay, I can't just go immediately. Then they know what the fuck is up. So what do? I put on a stand-up show and just watch stand-up for 2.5 hours, and then I handed in the piece of paper with "screw you" and then my teacher's name, and just handed that in. And then I left. Never looked back.
That was the -3, yeah. Yeah.
And
maybe that's why they have a -3.
yeah. Only for those purposes they put it on. But because of that -3, suddenly with my 2 last exams, I had to have certain grades to even get out of high school with a high enough average.
Fuck.
So I went out of. You have to at least have a 2 in the Danish system to like have a passing grade as an average, and I had 2.4.
Just made it. Yeah.
And then when I had to apply for this education, it said the average student had a 2.3, so I was like above average. And it was like, damn, son. And the worst part is, the Danish one, because we are on the international, the Danish one has 7 point something, I'm pretty sure. But the international one was just right down there. So that was the natural reason to pick the international for me.
That has to be some kind of a mistake in.
No, because the average is based on the people who, I was just about to say search, but the people who applied and get in, their average is kind of what you have to show is this is the average for you to get in. And I don't know how the fuck it happened.
No, that's so odd.
But I can tell you that I'm above average when it comes to grades compared to all of my peers.
Apparently, yeah. Back home we have a grading. Oh, we had a grading system. They fucking changed it for. Well, because we have from 1st to 10th grade, and then from that point on, you go to a different institution, and you get like a university entrance certificate out of it. And so we kind of get like, we get elementary, we get high school, and then we get like the first year of college, basically. And then we graduate, and then you go to college. And it's a bit of an odd system, but it works. And our grading system is from 0 to 10. With 0 being nothing and 10 being perfect. And it works so well, because it's so fucking simple. There's no simpler way of just giving you a 0% if you fail everything, and 100% if you succeed.
Yeah, true.
I got an 8.7 average. 8.7,
that's pretty good.
I'm very fucking proud of that. But
well,
it's nice to know that I probably then pulled that entire average up by a fucking point or something.
Yeah, you probably did. But right now I'm just thinking, who do I have to sus in the class now? Who's dumber than me?
Who just came in with a minus as an average or something?
Yeah. Like, who bribed the dean to get into school?
Yeah, clearly. It has to be some mistake in translating.
Like, we have too many Polish people. I think it might be some of them who cheated themselves. Nah, just kidding. I love you guys.
Yeah, but I'm glad that it did, because otherwise we wouldn't have you. I'm very fucking glad that it did.
Stop it.
But it's odd. That's the average, you know.
Yeah, but one thing I will say then is I had the low average in high school, and I am a certified dairy technologist, and took that education, and I got out with an average of 8.8, where 12 is the highest you can get, but 8.8, and it just said so much about. A big problem I have with the Danish education system is when you in elementary school have good grades. I remember having 7.7, and I was kind of slacking the 2 last years of elementary school and just rather wanted to hang around with the wrong people.
Yeah.
Like the smokers and the ones going to parties, and wanted to get those experiences, which clearly got like my grades a little bit down. But because I had high grades, the education counselor was just saying, high school is for you. What kind of high school do you want? Yeah, but what about what I want to do? Yeah, it doesn't matter. You have 2 good grades not to send you in high school. And then people who don't have those kind of grades and had like an average of 4, let's say, they would be like, yeah, you can be a mason, you can be some kind of builder, construction work or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's just a wrong mindset, because when it comes to education, it's people who are passionate in the field, in the education, like get so much more out of it when they're interested. And I think the biggest problem in elementary school for me is then you have we had a specific subject that taught you how to sew.
Yeah.
And use the sewing machine, and I didn't even get the sewing machine driver's license because that was apparently a thing. You had to like do these different tasks on the on the machine, and I failed them miserably, so I never got it.
Yeah.
And we had wood shop, and we had all these kind of things. And why not teach us how to pay taxes properly, how to change a fucking when you're out driving and your tire just how to change your tires.
Yeah.
There were so many things I was just, why not teach us the essential, the important adult stuff, instead of just, yeah, you have to make this bird, and when you pull the strings, the bird wings will flap. And it's like, yeah, that's good, a great present to my grandmother, but what the fuck do I do afterwards if I'm not going to use woodshop as a thing?
Yeah. I understand why they integrate those into the education to get people interested in different fields.
Yeah, I see the idea,
but why the fuck is the grade you get from those integrated into your final grade? Like,
exactly.
I understand why we did woodworking, right? I'm never gonna use it. I'm not interested in woodworking. I know I'm not interested in woodworking because we did it. Why does that affect my fucking grade?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, and the same, like, yeah, I would hear kids say all the time when we were in maths or when we were doing like some language classes and stuff like that, like, why are we doing this? Why are we not learning this and this and that? And I never wanted to be the one nerd to go, actually, but there's like a good reason why we learn a lot of the different things.
Well, I know it's to like just get your toes into the water and see where you want to jump in. I get it.
The thing is though, why is the final grade from some of the less mainstream important things integrated into your final grade? The same thing with sewing, right? We learned to sew as well. And I was fucking terrible at it. And I didn't really care for it. And then my whole final grade is brought down by like a point or something because my sewing grade is integrated into that. Why? I can't sew to save my fucking life. I have my mom repair any kind of clothing that I need repaired. Even then, mostly I just throw shit into the Red Cross and then buy new fucking clothes because we live in a capitalist society. Why is my fucking sewing grade in there?
I will. The only thing I will defend them with is they did not know that things like YouTube would be a thing today, because now you can get a tutorial anything.
Yeah.
How to sew your pants so they look nice again, how to change a tire, how to dismember a body, you can find anything on YouTube.
And the good thing
one of them didn't really mix with the others, right?
Yeah, dude, I remember my dismembering grade was really low, dude.
Yeah,
I couldn't get the saw through the bone. It was so... Okay. but yeah, the good thing also about YouTube is that is with tutorials and things like that, good tutorials rise to the top of your search results, while bad tutorials cannot just sink in with the rest of them. Because a good tutorial gets shared around and then all the people view it, you get higher viewership, you get more likes, and so any subject that you search for, you will always find a tutorial for it. And the top search result, if the system works properly, is always going to be the best tutorial. And especially for really common things that you have to do, like sewing or knitting or coding or whatever it is, things that a lot of people do, there are always going to be excellent tutorials at the top that are usually probably gonna teach you better than any teacher inside the education system is gonna do.
Mm.
So why is sewing still there?
I have a feeling that you really dislike sewing.
Yeah, it's just a really good analogy for the whole thing. It's not that I hate it, it's just that I don't really like it. And we had a really terrible sewing teacher as well, who was really fucking mean to us.
Oh.
But yeah, the one thing that I wish was more implemented, and one thing that they are implementing in Iceland, and I have to give a shout out to one Instagram page called Fávidar, which means assholes basically. But it started out as this Instagram page that would basically post screenshot of DMs from really creepy guys messaging girls with really creepy things. And it was supposed to raise awareness basically of, hey, please stop being fucking creeps. It exploded in popularity, right?
Mm.
And the girl that's running this Instagram account decided to just fucking run with it. And right now she just released her new book, which is all about sex education, right? It's filled with anything you could possibly have questions about regarding sex, and consent and protection and anything like that. And now that book is being implemented into the libraries of every elementary school in the country. And furthermore, that girl is also fighting for getting better sex education into the education system as a whole. And a lot of people are listening to her, and we are getting better sex education implemented into the education system as a result.
You hear that, ladies?
That's one thing that I fucking wish they would have taught us more, is sex ed. We never had any proper sex ed.
No, and
we didn't even learn, like, the whole putting a condom on a piece of
flamingo or banana or whatever you chose.
Whatever the fuck they had around. Like, we didn't even do that, you know? I remember the only sex ed that I remember we ever got. The only two things that I remember from sex education is clean behind your foreskin, which is a good advice, right? And another thing is that I remember that we had a teacher come in to teach us sex ed, and one of my friends asked if she was pregnant, and she wasn't. And I remember that moment. I remember the awkwardness of that moment so much more clearly than any of the actual sex ed that we had. It was a horrible moment. I feel really bad for the guy.
I think, if I remember correctly again, we had like sex ed in school, and it was in week 6, because we are that clever in Denmark, huh? And I remember we had these different things we had to like read up on, and then we had to present it. And I was the lucky guy who get to present about periods.
Yeah, boy.
And the worst part is after, because I was kind of nerdy at that time. It was before the 8th and 9th grade, which is the last parts of elementary school. I remember whenever I got an assignment, I delved into it. I wanted to know more, and I actually knew more about the girls' period than the girls in my class. And you don't want to be in that kind of situation, because the guys think you are stupid and the girls don't want to talk to you.
And I think on that hard note, it's time to end for today, because we have quite a lot of content. And we are reaching probably like the hour mark, a little bit above that. Thank you all for listening. The one person that's still with us is probably just me listening to this in the edit. But it's been nice.